class. Thank you for being here on the very last day. Um, our our proper policy is this house believes that the minimum wage should be raised to a livable wage of $11.50. The defined value is livable, just something that you can manage. You're not living paycheck to paycheck type of thing. And our criterion for debatable grounds are the economic effect, living standards, and then education. So first off, when people think that when you raise the minimum wage, people think that cost of living essentially goes up, but it's not necessarily true because cost of living is already going up with minimum wage staying at the same $8.25 right now, and people think that as the economy is down, people are going to be saving and not spending. But if you get an extra amount of money, if it jumps from $8.25 to now $11.50, that's extra money in your pocket. Who doesn't want extra money in their pocket to go out and spend? I'm pretty sure everybody here will take that money, like any little extra money you have, like, oh, I can go buy this, I can go buy that. Like, you're not necessarily thinking, oh, I need to save this for a rainy day. So that's what it says. According to Doug Collin, David Cooper's article on minimum wage, raising the minimum wage would help workers still reeling from the effects of the recession. The resulting impact on the overall economy would demonstrate positive, as minimum wage workers would spend their earnings immediately, creating a positive impact on the GDP and relate modest employee growth. So it's just, you're getting that money, you're going to go out and spend it, the economy's going to go up because there's more money circulating out there, so it can be raised. People also think that whenever you raise the minimum wage, then people start to lose jobs, is what I found while doing the research that people were thinking. But it's not true, because if you're in a company and you like the work, you don't necessarily like the pay, if you get a little bit more, you're going to want to stay there longer, and then it's going to show the company that, okay, you want to stay there, you want to develop this, and you want to keep moving up, because you can get that extra pay and you're going to move up. Like, for example, I work in a retail job right now. I work at Target. I've talked to many people there who said they like the people there, they like the work, it's not as hard, but they hate the pay. They can't really live on what they're getting there. They want to go out and maybe get a second job or get something better, but sometimes they can't because they have school. This job is flexible with hours. Now, if they get that $11.50, they're going to be able to live how they want to be comfortably, so they're not at the poverty line, which I believe is at $19,000 a year, so $19,000 a year. So they'll be able to better support themselves, go out, maybe get a better apartment because they have that extra income in their pocket. When it comes to education, a lot of people don't get financial aid like they want to get, or they don't get enough. For me, when I first started off coming to school here, my source of financial aid was my job. So whatever money I got from my job came straight to here from my books, my classes. I tried getting financial aid, I couldn't. Maybe I was just going the wrong routes, but I just couldn't get it. So getting more money will help me out so that I can afford the books that I need, the supplies I need. And then ultimately, once you get your education, then you can go out and get that better paying job that you want, or follow the career path that you want to have. So you're not just there like, maybe, oh, I can't go to school because I need this job or something. You have that option of bettering yourself and bettering your life. So while reading an article in the Washington Post, it said using this as an estimate, raising the minimum wage to $11.50 an hour, as many Democrats are proposing in 2014, would reduce the number of people living in poverty by 4.6 million. It will also boost the income of those in the 10th percentile by 1,700. So it's not necessarily a lot, but it's going to help them get out of that poverty, so they're not living that paycheck to paycheck. So
points of information.
I think I'll save it for me.
Okay. All right, thank you, Eric. We will transition gears and hear from Celina.
Good morning, everyone, and Madam Speaker. I'm Celina, and I represent the opposition. Most of you will agree, as a whole, you have never heard this side of the story, or have heard it disproportionately compared to the government side. I'm sure the Honorable House agrees with me that we should see both sides of any story before forming our own conclusions, so I thank you ahead of time for listening to what we both have to say. Not just government, but also the opposition. And I hope that we also represent both of our sides well. Once you've heard both sides, it is also my hope that you come to the same conclusion as I have. And I am opposed to the proposition this House believes that the minimum wage should be raised to a livable wage of $11.50. I will show you why I am confident in this bold claim through the points economic effects, livable standards, and education. Starting with economic effects. Tim Morrill, a contributor on Forbes, quotes economist Paul Krugman, a man well known for supporting the minimum wage, in his 2015 article saying, "So what are the effects of increasing minimum wage? Any Econ 101 student can tell you the answer. The higher wage reduces the quantity of labor demanded and hence leads to unemployment." What does that mean? Say, for instance, Eric decides to start a business and hires 10 of you. He's paying each of you $9 an hour, so that your annual income ends up being $18,720 each. Each year, Eric is paying a total of $187,200 to pay all 10 of you. However, minimum wage goes up to $11.50. Now all 10 of you cost Eric $239,200 a year. Unfortunately, Eric has put the rest of the money into the business electric bill, water bill, rent, shipping fees, stock of supplies, benefits, Social Security, and so on. And then on top of that, he has to make sure his family gets food on their plates. Eric can only afford to pay you all the amount he previously had to pay. Eric pops out his calculator and figures out he can make sure the whole business doesn't go under. His calculator shows he'll have to fire 2.2 of you. That's not including the amount he has to pay for Social Security and benefits, which go up when the minimum wage goes up. Now, the rest of you have to spread out the workload of approximately 2.2 workers. Since all of you are diligent good workers, he decides to keep those of you who have more experience and tend to do your work faster. And then on top of that, you're able to help the customers a little better. So those of you who are younger and newer, well, most likely you'll be fired. Who knows? Maybe Eric might up the prices on his products and maybe even eat the food scraps off his kids' plates instead of having his own meal, so that he doesn't have to fire 2.2 of you, he can only fire 2. Maybe he'll even help you all with the new extra load you have and help you out as, on top of that, that he has to do already with running the business. So this is what I've shown you. 1 worker, now 10 workers. That's what it was previously, and now here it is now. But what about our approximately 2.2 workers floating around? Well, they've probably applied for unemployment benefits and are busy looking for jobs. Well, they've probably applied now. However, other business owners like Eric have also fired 22% of their workers. So those of you who just got fired by Eric have to compete with all the other people who have just got fired because of the higher minimum wage. saying. And we may be added through the whole debate, comparing what one person is saying to another. So when words are many and don't add up, real life is full of living examples that will point you to the truth. For example, Victoria Taft of the IJ Review noted how there have been protests by the SEIU and other unions along with fast food workers demanding $15 an hour pay a day. As a result, cities including Los Angeles and Seattle have voted to dramatically raise their minimum wage to $15. Sounds nice, just like Eric said, extra money in your pocket. Well, let's see these new workers. So if the government is right, instead of a slow rise in the economy, with people getting a better paycheck, living a better standard above the poverty line, buying more stuff and pouring into the economy, it should be a leap because it's not $11.50, it's $15. Let's take a look at these workers. There you go. Victoria Taft of the IJ Review. At McDonald's, they can buy a computerized kiosk with a brand new menu, and it appears to be a big hit around the country. So what's the reason for these changes? Some people suspect it's no coincidence these advances at Mickey D's have corresponded with the protests by SEIU and other unions along with fast food workers demanding $15 an hour pay a day. Others have noticed as well. State of the globe. Goodbye high minimum wage workers. McDonald's, create your taste kiosk. Professor Tufty, McDonald's waiting for a new improved self-serve kiosk system before increasing wages. They'll be pouring into the economy, huh? Above the poverty line. They got the real minimum wage, $0. And they're certainly not above the poverty line when you're at zero. My opponent may say, oh, well, they just did it too fast. In either case, of $11.50 or $15, you still have to make cuts somewhere. The only difference between these two is that the consequences of one won't be as drastic as the other. If you keep tightening the belt, the person will eventually have to drop the weight. If you really want to have people living a better standard in life, you stop tightening the belt. Stop tightening the belt, and business owners can have a little more wiggle room to get the unemployed jobs. If you get more people out of unemployment and into jobs, the more people getting from $0 and government benefits to a better standard of living. I'm not sure about you, but I'd rather have $9 or $8 than $0. Now, this is interesting.
I'm going to have to stop you there. All right, thanks. So we've heard from both sides. We'll hear from them.
It depends on the company on how they want to spread out their money. If it's a big company, people tend to be greedy, but I would like to hope that the people at the top want the best for their company and the best for their people. So because they're making so much more money, they'll be willing to maybe take a little bit of pay cut, maybe not get their bonuses, just so that money can be spread out evenly. And this is, as he said, with my company, if I'm selling a product I believe in, something that I want to succeed in, I would try to do whatever I can and to make sure that the workers I have employed can get that amount of money. So if it means maybe me working more hours, ultimately it's my product. I want to put the best out there. So I'm going to do what I can to stay in business, to make sure my workers are happy, make sure that they'll be with me and support me and help me out, and in turn then they'll get that money that I make, they'll go back to them. And then with other people getting more money, it's going to come back to the company. So just because I take a pay cut at the top, the workers are going to end up spending it back on myself. Like for instance at Target, I feel like I'm working and I'm just giving the money back to them. I'm walking around, I'm like, wow, this is on clearance, I gotta buy this. Like, oh, this is on sale, I gotta go buy this. Like, they're giving me money and I'm just giving it right back to them. And I get paid a decent amount, so I have that income to just put it back, to give it right back to them. So if they do the same thing, then they're gonna have everybody just giving it right back to them. she mentioned the self-checkouts at McDonald's, and when it's gonna be good for some people who just wanna go in and out, get their stuff, not talk to anybody, but a lot of people like interacting with other people when they go out. They like that maybe they don't always talk to new people, like get experiences, but when you go there, you like to see somebody smiling at you, happy, like, oh, like, can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? Which is another thing that we strongly press at, like, at where I work at Target. They call it the vibe. They want us to have personal experiences with guests, like, oh, you want to buy this? Let me tell you about this other product that's similar. Or like, oh, you're buying dog food? What kind of dog do you have? So it's like those personal experiences that make people want to come by. And if they have that money that they're getting, that minimum wage that's going up, they're gonna come back and spend more, and then you as the worker, you're gonna be happy to go out, like, oh, you know, I'm getting more money, like, I'll be a lot happier instead of, oh, you know, I don't wanna be here, why am I here, I'm not getting paid enough, why should I be doing this? And then, let's see. One of the things with the economy that I read on article on equitable growth from 2014, it says one reason that employment has not been shown to fall due to raising the minimum wage is because higher wages can make workers more productive and therefore more valuable to their employer. Economists call this the efficiency wage theory. So that retainment of people staying there, it keeps going up. And then not only will the minimum wage go up, but there also can be, it can work with other different types of programs to help people get more money. So not all of the money comes from the company. There's an article, it says according to Heather Busey, Executive Director and Chief Economist, Washington Center for Equitable Growth, it says the anti-poverty effects of the minimum wage are significant. But to pull workers and their families out of poverty, the minimum wage must work in tandem with income support policies. One of the most important policies interactions is the earned income tax credit, which whenever you go do your taxes, if you are below that poverty line, you get an extra income. So this shows where the current minimum wage is, and then with the proposed minimum wages, and this is the power line. So that's how much you're making. And then with the current, it's a earned income tax credit, you're a little bit over it. But if you get that extra money with the minimum wage going up to $11.50, you're making, what, $4,000 over that. So that's more money coming from like government programs and not just what the company's giving you. So not everything falls on the company. You get the government helping you out because you are below that poverty line. And I'm sure if you guys have done your taxes, you've seen it whenever they review everything, they show, oh, you're getting this tax boost because of this, because you didn't make that much, you're like, they're adding this much, or they didn't take out this much in taxes. So there's that there that can help you with getting more money.
Any points of information?
So you were saying that we should raise it, but it says here, this year, Dr. Celina First of the Heritage Foundation stated wages have grown over the past few years at rates similar to historical trends. Even when including the Great Recession, the average annual growth rate has been positive. So they're already growing by themselves. And then on top of that, it says here that according to the International Business Times, Elsa Buchanan wrote in her article saying the future of the Greek economy and its place in the Eurozone are back in the headlines. Greece is the only country in Europe where the minimum wage has decreased since 2008, according to the European Union Statistics Agency Eurostat. They were told to lower their minimum wage by their creditors because the creditors knew that their economy would go up. And they also knew that if Greece went under, the entire countries of Europe would also go under with Greece.
I did not know that about Greece. But with, when you mentioned that it's slowly been rising, true, it has slowly been rising, but with that slowly rising, so has everything else, but at faster rates than just the minimum wage. So you're still getting that, yes, you're getting the extra 25 cents, extra 50 cents, but everything else is going up, and people can't afford to stay in where certain apartments where they're at, or go out and get certain things. Milk goes up all the time. Like, just little necessities go up. Eggs are now like $4 for a dozen, so that's going up, but you're still getting the same amount, and it's slowly going up, and it's not it's not equal to the amount of stuff going up.
I'm gonna have to stop it there due to time. Okay, thank you. So our final constructive from Celina will take place now. You have 8 minutes. Hopefully we'll get some good analysis and more question.
Long time no see, everyone. You are probably now quite familiar with the government's proposition. Now, what I'm going to show you is the remarkable prosperity of a few European countries. What's unique about Europe is that all those countries are clumped together, each having a unique economy, and that in some ways affects the other countries. Because of this, there have been countless studies and articles published. Because of this, fortunately for us, more than half of Europe's countries have a minimum wage, and others don't. According to the government, the countries with the minimum wage should be doing way better than the countries without it. Let's see what the studies found. According to Piero in their 2014 article, quote, the latest information bulletin published by the National Institute of Statistics entitled Wages in Spain and the EU notes that several of the countries that have no established minimum wage actually have a much higher average salaries. In addition, the unemployment rate in these countries is lower than the average of the countries which have a minimum wage. The average unemployment rate in the EU member states that do not have an established minimum wage is set at 7.1%. The list of these countries with no legislation on minimum wage consists of Denmark, Germany, Czech Republic, Italy, Cyprus, Austria, Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Switzerland, and Finland. Norway has an unemployment rate of only 3.7%, and Germany, with a population of over 80 million, has an unemployment rate of 5%. That's really good. Economist Thomas Sowell in 2013 stated, most nations today have minimum wage laws, but they have not always had them. Unemployment rates have been very much lower in places and times when there were no minimum wage laws. Switzerland is one of the few modern nations without a minimum wage law. In 2003, The Economist magazine reported Switzerland's unemployment neared a 5-year high of 3.9%. In February of this year, Switzerland's unemployment rate was 3.1%. A recent issue of The Economist showed Switzerland's unemployment rate as 2.1%. Most Americans today have never seen unemployment rates that low. What's our unemployment rate? The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that as of April of this year, our unemployment rate was 5.4%. Switzerland is probably looking at us and thinking we have a horrible economy. Continuing at unemployment, I mentioned earlier in the scenario where Eric had to choose who to fire, I pointed out he probably fired those of us who were newer and less experienced, which undoubtedly would mean those of us who were younger. Which makes sense if you wanted to hire a construction worker to repair your house and had to choose between a worker who had more experience with one with less experience. Knowing you were going to pay each of them the same amount, you'd probably go for the one with more experience. Unfortunately, young people tend to have the least amount of experience with older people. This is exactly what Thomas Sowell points out in his 2013 article. There is nothing mysterious about the fact that most people start off in entry-level jobs that pay much less than they will earn after they get some more experience. But when minimum wage levels are set without regard to their initial productivity, young people are disproportionately unemployed, priced out of In Europe, European welfare states where minimum wages and mandated job benefits to be paid for by employers are more generous than in the United States, unemployment rates for younger workers often 20% or higher, even when there is no recession. Unemployed young people lose not only the pay they could have earned, but at least equally important, the work experience that would enable them to earn higher rates of pay later on. However, guess what Switzerland's youth unemployment rate is? In October 2014, Molly McCluskey of Al Jazeera Media Network states in her article, Switzerland boasts a youth unemployment rate of a mere 3.2%, even among those without a college degree. Switzerland has never shared the unemployment concerns of its neighbors. Not part of the European Union or the Eurozone, the Alpine country fared better during the economic downturn than its EU counterparts, with unemployment at the end of 2007 reaching a mere 2.8%. Not only do they have a better youth unemployment rate, they weathered through the recession better than we did. Now, what's our youth unemployment rate? Our youth unemployment rate is 11.6% in April. Compared to 3.2, that's almost 4 times higher than Switzerland's. The government might say, we should raise our minimum wage to make it fair for those who get out of college and are stuck at minimum wage. They went through college and deserve better pay. Yes, I agree, they do deserve better. But what's the point about worrying the pay of your job when you can't find one? By the time you land a job, youth in Switzerland have already gotten the experience they need to level up to a higher paying job. Enough about unemployment anyways. What is the livable standard in these countries that don't have any minimum wage? Hero goes on to say, the average annual gross salaries in these countries are much higher than in those states with an established minimum wage. The average salary in Denmark exceeds $67,200, while in Switzerland it is even higher and exceeds $78,400. Finland, with an average annual salary of $49,110, and Germany with $48,500, are 2 other good examples of the higher wages in these countries. What's ours? According to the National Average Wage Index, the National Average Wage Index for 2013 is $44,888. Now, I threw a lot of numbers, so let me summarize with a picture. Their living standard is much better than ours. That's their average wage, almost 2 times what we're getting. That is a better livable standard, and that's without a minimum wage. And look at this, unemployment rate. Our unemployment rate is almost 2 times theirs, and then the youth unemployment rate is almost 4 times as theirs. That's horrible. And they don't have a minimum wage. And also, as I mentioned... Alright, so now, last year, Washington Policy Center's Aaron Shannon states, voters in Switzerland just rejected imposing a minimum wage law by heck no margins. 76% to 24%. They didn't want a minimum wage because they saw us and thought we were a joke. Why in the world would they want to be like us with a minimum wage when they could do so much better? And then, of course, economist Thomas Sowell was saying, we used to not have a minimum wage. There was a time when there was no federal minimum wage law in the United States. The last time was during the Coolidge administration when the annual unemployment rate got as low as 1.8%. That's better than what Switzerland has right now.
I'm going to have to stop you there. You are wrapped up though for your closing arguments.
The government pointed out that, quote, raising the minimum wage will help workers reeling from recession. They'll be able to spend it and circulate it. They also said that losing jobs wasn't true. And they also said getting more gives you what you need. However, as I pointed out, like with McDonald's, people did lose their jobs. So it is true. I gave a living example. The government didn't. And then on top of that, getting more gives you what you need. Switzerland, they have more and they don't have a minimum wage to do it. So yeah, they are circulating into the economy. Yeah, they went through the recession and they did better than us. They don't have a minimum wage. So raising the minimum wage will be the opposite of what Switzerland is doing. Why do we want to go down that route? We already have a higher unemployment rate. We don't have a better living standard. As a matter of fact, it's not getting better, it's getting worse, according to Switzerland. Now, as I pointed out earlier on during Points of Information, I pointed out this year Dr. Salem Firth of the Heritage Foundation stated, wages have grown over the past few years at rates similar to historical trends, even when including the Great Recession. The average annual growth rate has been positive. It's already growing by itself. And then on top of that, Switzerland is proving that we can do even better. We don't even need to increase it. That's why you should vote for me. Not so that you can miss out on a bigger paycheck. You are going to get that already. But it's so that you miss out on being unemployed.
All right, Eric, you're up for your closing argument. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, so thank you for listening to this debate. It's almost over, semester's almost done. She mentioned the population, she mentioned other countries in Europe, but the population differences from the United States to those are completely different. So not all the numbers are gonna match up and be even with each other. Another thing is, what works for another country won't necessarily work for us. Just because one country is doing great with their no minimum wage doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work for us. We can do it and we completely fail and then our economy will be down. What we should do is just see what they're doing, learn from it, maybe take things that work for them and implement it into our system, but just to completely get rid of something and then hoping it works for us, it won't work. She also mentioned students getting out of college and not being able to find jobs. That's because a lot of times students get out and they try to get jobs within their field, within their degree, and that's why they can't get anything. But having that option of going into a starting job just with the minimum wage being at $11.50, they can already start off to pay off their student loans that are going to be ridiculously high when they graduate. So that's going to help them out. And with the companies, once again, I emphasize that they should try to sacrifice and do what's best for their employees instead of being greedy and trying to think about the money, what makes better for them. If they want to have that product work for them, they should focus on their employees too, so they can promote that product and not badmouth them when they're not at work, like, oh, don't shop here because of this and that, or don't do this because of this and that. And then just ultimately, vote for me because more money. You can go spend, you can go to the movies, you can go out. And that's pretty much it.
All right.